to demand tax fairness for working families and to make certain that the wealthiest people in this country begin to start paying their fair share of taxes. Unfortunately, in 2017, the Trump tax plan, which was supported by every Republican, moved us in exactly the wrong direction. The vast majority of the tax breaks in that proposal went to the wealthiest people in our country and the largest corporations, the people who needed it the least, and it resulted in a $2 trillion increase in our national debt. One of the many negative aspects of the Trump tax plan was to limit deductions on state and local taxes to $10,000. That resulted in millions of middle-class and working-class families being forced to pay more in their federal taxation. That was a regressive and unfair proposal, and this Congress must rectify it. As some of you may know, a proposal has been recently circulating which would completely eliminate the SALT cap. While the $10,000 cap, in my view, is much too low, eliminating the cap entirely would result in a massive tax break for the wealthiest families in this country. The multimillionaires and billionaires who own mansions in exclusive neighborhoods and who can afford to make extremely expensive purchases do not need a tax break. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a 5-year complete repeal, which is what some are talking about, would cost roughly $475 billion, with $400 billion of that tax cut going to the top 5%. 475 in total, with 400 of that billion of that tax break going to the top 5%. According to this nonpartisan organization, if this proposal were to go into effect, that's the complete repeal, the top 5% would receive a net tax cut of $30 billion a year, even after including all of the other provisions to increase taxes on the wealthy that are currently in the Build Back Better Act. At a time when Democrats are correctly demanding that the wealthy finally start paying their fair share of taxes, it would be absurd and hypocritical to provide the richest people in this country with a massive tax breaks. And that's not just me or Bob Menendez. That is people like Larry Summers. That is people like Jason Furman, President Obama's former chairman of the Council on Economic Advisors. So, if completely eliminating the cap on state and local tax exemption is regressive and unfair, what is a sensible solution? And to me, the answer is obvious. We should eliminate that cap for families making, roughly speaking, we still got to do a little bit more tweaking here, but roughly speaking, $400,000 or less, not for millionaires and billionaires. And we should make that permanent. This would not only provide tax relief to millions of middle-income and working-class families, it would be deficit neutral. I was delighted to hear from Senator Menendez that he has been working on a very similar perspective on this issue, and our offices have agreed in principle on a compromise proposal that would eliminate the SALT cap on middle-class families who need it the most and ensure that millionaires and billionaires don't receive any of the benefits. Over 10 years, this proposal would be deficit neutral, and the Build Back Better Act would be fully paid for, and this is important, by demanding that the wealthiest Americans and most profitable corporations pay their fair share of taxes. We have heard reports that the House may include a proposal to raise the SALT cap to $72,500 for all Americans, including the wealthy. This approach would cost over $50 billion a year and would provide 37% of its benefits to the top 1%. So in other words, this is a better proposal than eliminating the SALT completely, but it still is quite regressive. We should not be substantially increasing taxes on the top 1%, not giving the wealthiest people in the country a huge tax break. So with that, let me introduce Senator Menendez and thank him very much for his work on this.